Have you ever felt guilty for saying no? Not for doing something wrong, but for not doing what others expected of you. Does that sound familiar? Because if you're kind, if you help, if you give yourself to others, you're a good person, right? Well, what if I told you that this kindness you value so much could be destroying you? Today, you'll discover the dark side of kindness, 8 surprisingly subtle, yet devastating ways it can harm you, all from a Stoic perspective. We're not talking about stopping being good. We're talking about stopping being a slave. And for that, I want to tell you a story. My story. A few years ago, I was that friend, the one who was there when no one else was, the one who said yes even when exhausted, the one who replied to messages at any hour, the one who, with a smile, said, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." And it felt good. It made me feel useful, needed, even admired. But over time, I started noticing something strange. I was there for everyone. But when I fell, no one was there. And I began to wonder, why? The answer hurt. Because I wasn't helping out of kindness. I was helping out of fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of not being enough. Fear that if I stopped saying yes, they'd stop loving me. That's the first way kindness harms you, when it hides deep fear. And that's where stoicism comes in. Because Epictetus said it clearly. It's not things that harm us, but our interpretation of them. I interpreted that if I wasn't useful, I had no value. And that interpretation made me a slave to others. What about you? What interpretation are you giving your kindness? Because if it doesn't come from a place of freedom, it's not virtue. It's weakness in disguise. Now this gets darker. Because being kind can make you manipulable. Second way, kindness makes you an easy target for people with no scruples. People who don't want your light, just your energy, who ask, drain, and praise you until you're no longer useful to them. Seneca put it this way: it's wiser to avoid than to cure. And sometimes that means walking away from those who only approach you for gain. It took me a while to accept this, but I lived it. They asked for favors, and I did them, always, without hesitation. Until one day, I said no, just once. And guess what? They left. No explanation. No. Thanks for everything before. Nothing. That's when I understood my value to them was my utility, not my humanity. And that hurt. But it also freed me. Because when you realize your worth doesn't depend on what you give, but on who you are, something shifts inside. But to get there, you must face a third form of harm. Kindness can make you forget yourself. Have you ever stopped to think how many times you've said yes to others while saying no to yourself? Pause for a second. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you postponed your plans to help someone else? How many times have you canceled your needs to satisfy another's? Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Care for your soul more than your reputation, because your soul is who you are. Reputation is what others think you are." I confuse kindness with virtue. But Stoicism taught me that virtue is acting according to reason, not guilt, not fear, not what will they say. So if you're always there for everyone, stop. Ask yourself if it comes from freedom or from a need for approval. Because if it's the latter, it's not kindness. It's self-abandonment with good PR. So far, we've covered 3 ways. Each one hurts more than the last. But they also bring you closer to the truth. Because what I'll share next might make you see your story from a new angle, a far more powerful one. And remember, this isn't about stopping kindness. It's about stopping weakness without realizing it. The 4th way kindness can harm you is when it becomes your identity. And this is more dangerous than it sounds. Because when your worth is defined by being the good one, the kind one, the one who's always there, you stop being human. You become a role. And a role, by definition, forces you to act a certain way, even when you no longer want to. I found myself trapped in that character. And the problem wasn't just external, it was internal. Because when I finally tried to set boundaries, I felt guilty. When I said no, I wondered if I was becoming selfish. When someone left because I didn't do what they wanted, I wondered if I had failed. That's the trap. You can't grow if every decision comes with guilt. And that's when I read an Epictetus quote that hit me like lightning. Whose judgment matters so much to you? Someone who doesn't even know your soul. Boom. That was it. I was acting to avoid disappointing people who didn't even know the real me. And that wasn't virtue. It was slavery. The fifth way kindness harms you is even subtler. It makes you addicted to recognition. And this one's treacherous. Because it feels nice. You help. They thank you. They call you amazing. They say they don't know what they'd do without you. And you smile. You feel useful, valued, important. But if that recognition doesn't come, you get upset, disappointed. You feel it wasn't worth it. See the trap? What you did wasn't an act of virtue. It was an emotional transaction waiting for payment. Seneca said, "The wise give without expecting. The fool demands reward even for what they didn't offer wholeheartedly." And that's the difference between being kind and using kindness as currency to buy affection. I had to admit this about myself. It hurt, but I often didn't help just to help. I helped to feel loved. And when I started observing that, something broke. But something also freed me, because I began being kind only when I truly wanted to, not when I needed to. And that changed everything. The sixth form of harm is the quietest of all. Kindness can feed your arrogance. Yes, I know, it sounds contradictory. But hear me out. When you're always the one who helps, who's there, who never asks for anything, you can fall into the trap of feeling superior. I'm the one who's there for others. I'm the good friend. I'm the one who makes an effort. And you start using your kindness as a badge to judge those who don't act the same. Has this happened to you? It did to me, and I'm not proud of it, because true virtue, according to the Stoics, always comes with humility. Marcus Aurelius said, "Pride in virtue destroys it, because it ceases to be virtue and becomes vanity." Kindness shouldn't be a tool to feel better than others. It should be a natural expression of who you are without needing to display it. When I understood this, I stopped comparing. I stopped expecting others to do what I did. And I stopped using kindness as a shield to avoid facing my own emptiness. We are six, and I know each point hurts, but it hurts because it touches a truth that many of us avoid. And in the next part, I'm going to tell you the most shocking one of all, one that took me years to understand. But when I did, it was like waking up from a dream. The seventh way kindness can harm you is when it becomes your justification not to change. And this point was like a direct slap to my soul. You see, there are people who hide behind their kindness to avoid doing the inner work. They don't face their wounds, their limits, their traumas, because they're good people. I was one of them. Why set boundaries if I always help willingly? Why look at my shortcomings if I'm doing the right thing? Why speak clearly if I already do more than most? Kindness became my mask. A very pretty one, by the way. But stoicism doesn't forgive masks, because its essence is truth. And truth, as Epictetus said, is the only thing that can free you. Don't seek to appear good. Be it, even if no one sees it. That's when I understood that being kind didn't make me a better person if it didn't come from a place of honesty, because being kind to avoid conflict isn't peace, it's evasion. Being kind to avoid being truly seen isn't generosity, it's fear. Being kind so you won't be abandoned isn't love, it's attachment. And attachment, as you'll know if you're familiar with the Stoics, is one of the great chains of the soul. Seneca wrote, "The wise man loves without need, helps without expecting, and suffers without being trapped." I wasn't wise, nor free. I was just someone using kindness as an excuse not to look at my own shadows. But you can't heal what you don't see. So one day, I sat in front of the mirror, and I asked myself, who am I trying to fool? Others or myself? And then came the eighth way, the most brutal, the hardest to accept. Kindness can become your emotional prison. Because when you spent years being the one who gives, who cares, who never asks for anything, you become a character who doesn't know how to receive. And I say this with my heart in my hand. Being unable to receive love, help, support is a very lonely way to live. Because there comes a point where you get so used to giving, that you don't know what to do when someone offers you something without asking for anything in return. You feel discomfort, distrust, even guilt. And that's when I understood something Stoicism shouts in its pages. It's not a virtue if it lacks balance. The wise man Marcus Aurelius said, accepts what life offers with gratitude, and what it takes away with serenity. I didn't accept, neither with gratitude, nor with serenity. I only knew how to give, never how to open my arms to receive, because it scared me. It made me feel vulnerable. But without vulnerability, there's no true connection. And without connection, what's the point of all your kindness? What's the point of giving if you can't allow yourself to be loved too? And that's when I decided to let go of the character, to stop being the strong one, to stop being the useful one, to stop being the one who doesn't need anything. Because I did need, like everyone, and kindness in its purest form also implies that showing yourself as human. Up to this point, we've covered the 8 ways being kind, when it comes not from awareness, but from wound, can do you more harm than good. But it's not all darkness. In the next part, I'll give you the great reward of this journey. The reason this video began, because there's a way to be kind that does liberate, that does transform, that does build. And I'm going to show it to you. By now, you've seen the dark side. And probably, if you've made it this far, something inside you clicked, and it might hurt. I know, but now comes the reward. Because we're not here just to break down. We're here to rebuild. And for that, I want to start with a simple but powerful question. What if I told you that you can keep being kind without destroying yourself? That's the difference between kindness born from fear and kindness born from virtue. Stoicism isn't against helping. It's not against love. It's not against service. Quite the opposite. But it demands one thing, that you do it from your center, not from your wound. And to get there, you have to let go of the need to be liked. Let go of the fear of conflict. Let go of the idea that your worth lies in what you give. Epictetus said, "You're free not when no one oppresses you, but when nothing inside you does." That's when I understood that I could keep helping, but without forcing myself. I could keep being there for others, but not if it meant abandoning myself. I could be kind without being a martyr, and then something changed. For the first time, I started saying no without guilt, setting boundaries without needing to justify myself, receiving without feeling like I had to compensate for it. And that made me stronger, more serene, more human, because I discovered the real version of kindness, the one that includes self-love, the one that doesn't divide between you or others, but unites. And it was then that I reread Marcus Aurelius. That night, my hands were trembling, because I felt something inside me breaking, to make way for something else. And among his words, I found this: don't live as if you had 1,000 years ahead of you. The urgency is to act with virtue now, because everything else is smoke. Act with virtue, not with guilt, not with fear, not with a desire for approval, but with virtue. And virtue, Seneca said, is what keeps you in harmony with yourself, even when the world is in chaos. That's the kindness that transforms, the one that doesn't need to be seen, the one born from a soul at peace, the one that doesn't break you inside, but builds you, and that is available to you. You don't need to stop being good. You just need to stop sacrificing yourself to appear so. Because as long as you keep doing things you don't want to do, for fear of not being loved, you're not being kind. You're being a slave. And the Stoics came to teach us to be free. Free from others' opinions. Free from our own internal chains. Free from living on autopilot. To love consciously. To serve with purpose. To help without leaving your own soul behind. That's the goal. And now, maybe you're wondering, how do I start? How do I move from this broken kindness to one that strengthens me? That's what I'm going to tell you in the next part. I'll give you a clear, step-by-step map based on Stoic wisdom. So you leave this video with more than just a reflection, with direction. All right, you've seen what misunderstood kindness can cause. And you've also discovered there's another way, a healthier one, more conscious, more powerful. Now I'll give you the map. This isn't a self-help manual. It's a guide based on ancient Stoic principles, tested by centuries of wisdom and by thousands of people who, like you, felt that giving so much was emptying them. Step 1. Make peace with your need for approval. You cannot transform your way of being kind if you don't recognize that part of your motivation is wanting to please. And this doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But as Seneca said, there is nothing more powerful than the man who masters himself. Start by observing when you help expecting something in return, even if that something is just recognition. Do it without judging yourself. Just observe it, because what you can see, you can change. Step 2, learn to say no without explanation. This step might be the most difficult, but it's key, because as long as you feel you need to justify your boundaries, you'll remain a prisoner. Epictetus was brutally clear about this. If you want to progress, prepare to be ridiculed, ignored, and despised. But if you can withstand it, you'll discover freedom. Every time you say no to something you don't want to do, you're saying yes to your peace, to your time, to your energy, and that is sacred. Step 3, focus on your intention, not external perception. The Stoics insisted, you don't control what others think. You only control what you do and why you do it. So if you help, let it be because you truly want to, not because you fear losing someone's affection, not because you want to look good, only because your heart and reason say, this is the right thing. Marcus Aurelius wrote, do what is right. The rest, whether it comes or not, is not your concern, and that includes others' opinions. Step 4, practice reciprocity. Do you struggle to receive? To accept help, love, recognition? Start with small things. When someone tells you, thank you, don't respond with it's nothing. Say you're welcome. Allow yourself to receive that appreciation. When someone wants to help you, don't say, I can do it alone. Say, thank you, I accept. Because being vulnerable isn't weakness. It's a form of emotional strength. Seneca said, the wise man doesn't just give. He also lets himself be helped because he knows pride is also a chain. Step 5, redefine your concept of virtue. For years, I believed virtue meant sacrificing yourself, staying silent, always being available. But Stoicism taught me something different. Virtue is acting with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. And none of those things imply losing yourself along the way. You can be just and set boundaries. You can have courage and say no. You can be wise and protect your energy. You can practice temperance and not give yourself completely to everyone. When you understand this, your kindness stops being martyrdom and becomes a conscious choice. Free, that's what changes your life. And the best part is you don't need to become someone else. You just need to return to yourself, to your center, to your purpose, to your freedom. And for that, there's one last piece, a key few see. But in the next part, I'm going to reveal it to you. It's the final lesson of this journey, the one that can give you the power to transform not just your relationship with others, but with yourself. There's a phrase that haunted me for years, even after learning about Stoicism, even after starting to change. What if I stop being kind and no one loves me? Yes, I know, it sounds vulnerable, insecure, almost childish, but it was real. Because when you spent years being the one who's always there, who never bothers, who always smiles, there's a deep fear that if you stop being useful, you disappear. And there lies the trap. The character of the good person becomes addictive. It protects you. It gives you a role. It makes you feel valuable. But it also prevents you from showing yourself. Because who are you without that mask? And it was there, right there, where Stoicism gave me my greatest lesson. Marcus Aurelius wrote, what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. I had always understood that phrase backwards. I thought I had to sacrifice myself for the common good, that I had to always be there for everyone, that if I didn't give, I was worthless. But that's not the teaching. What Marcus meant is that you can't harm your essence expecting that to help the whole. An exhausted, broken person without energy, without identity, can't build anything good. You can't give your best if you're abandoning yourself. True kindness starts at home. And when I understood that, everything changed. I stopped asking permission to take care of myself. I stopped justifying my nose. I stopped feeling guilty for protecting my energy. I stopped being kind, be loved, and started being kind because I love myself. And that was freedom. Epictetus said, "No one is free if they're not master themselves." And being master of yourself doesn't mean becoming cold, hard, selfish. It means that before saying yes, you ask yourself if that yes honors you. That before helping, you ask yourself if you can do it without resentment. That before pleasing, you ask yourself if you're betraying something inside. And if the answer is yes, then you act, but not to fit in, not to avoid rejection, not to maintain an image. You act because it's the right thing. Period. That's Stoic kindness. The kind that doesn't need applause. The kind that doesn't break you. The kind that doesn't put you on a pedestal. The kind born from balance. And from there, you can be truly useful, truly loving, truly powerful, because you no longer give from fear. You give from abundance. You no longer care for others to feel valuable. You do it because you feel complete. You no longer help to be loved. You help because you already love yourself. That's the great lesson. Kindness isn't about how much you give. It's about where you give from, and that where you choose. Now, there's just one more thing, a final story. That ties it all together. That closes this journey as it should. With an image, with an emotion, and with a truth. A few months ago, I received a message. It was from someone I hadn't seen in years. Someone I had helped a lot. Too much, to be honest. They were asking me for a favor. Urgent, complicated. In another time, I would have said yes without hesitation. But this time, I breathed. I felt that old impulse inside me. That little voice that said, if you don't do it, you'll disappoint them. They'll walk away. They'll think you don't care anymore. And I heard it, but I didn't obey it. Instead, I asked myself, do I want to do this? Do I have the energy? Would I do it without resentment? The answer was no, and I wrote a simple message. I can't help you this time. I hope you find what you need. Sending you a hug. I sent it and felt a tremor in my chest. Part of me was terrified, but then something changed. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel selfish. I didn't feel evil. I felt free. That was the first time I understood what true virtue means. It wasn't a dramatic act. It wasn't a grand renunciation. It was a small choice, but a conscious one. Without guilt, without fear, just honesty. And in that moment, I remembered another phrase from Marcus Aurelius. Do every act of your life as if it were your last. If that decision had been the last of my life, I would have been at peace. Because it wasn't a no from indifference, but from self-respect. And deep down, that's what I came to tell you. Your kindness doesn't have to hurt. It doesn't have to drag you. It doesn't have to empty you. It can be light, calm, steady, and still deeply human. You don't have to become a cold person, just an honest one. You don't have to stop caring. You just have to learn to care for yourself too. You don't have to be perfect, just present with yourself. Because the most important person you must be faithful to is you. And if you achieve that, then yes, your kindness will be virtue. And your virtue will be freedom. That is the final reward. The one I promised you at the beginning of this video. Not a magic formula, not an instant change, but something much more powerful. A new way of living. One where you don't need to destroy yourself to be loved, nor abandon yourself to be valued, nor pretend to fit in. One where you can be you, whole, and from there, give your best. And now, if this video made you think, if it touched you even a little, I'm going to ask just one thing. Share this message with someone who needs it, because we all know that person who gives more than they have, who is always there for everyone except for themselves. And maybe, just maybe, this video is the push they needed to come back home, to their center, to their freedom, to their truth. And if you want us to keep talking about these topics, subscribe. But not for me, for you. so you can keep receiving content that reminds you who you are and who you never need to be again. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, be kind, but first to yourself. Before we close, I want to leave you with something else. Not an inspiring quote, not a Stoic phrase, but an image, a metaphor that, if you understand it, will stay with you forever. Imagine you are in a boat. You are in the middle of the sea, and every person you love, every friend, every co-worker, every relationship you've built, they are floating around you in their own boats. One of them starts taking on water. They scream. They ask for help. And you, without hesitation, jump from your boat to rescue them. You use your hands. You give them your oar. You give them your life vest. You even offer to push their boat with yours. And little by little, yours starts to sink, but you continue. Because you're good. Because that's who you are. Because you don't know how to say no. And when your boat is barely afloat, you look around and discover something terrifying. The others kept going. Some thanked you. Others simply drifted away. And you were left adrift. That's what happens when you confuse kindness with self-abandonment. Stoicism doesn't tell you not to help, but it does tell you that first, you need a steady boat. One from which you can choose, not react. One from which you can see clearly, not from drowning. Seneca said, help the other without losing yourself. And that means knowing when to say yes, when to say no, and when it's simply not your battle. I didn't understand that. I thought being good meant giving everything. But time taught me that you can't give what you don't have. And here comes the final image. I want you to keep it, repeat it, write it down if needed. A candle does not shine more if it burns itself out. And you are a candle. Your light is needed, but it's useless if it consumes you. So from today, make a pact with yourself, a sacred pact. You will love without losing yourself. You will help without breaking. You will listen without absorbing everything. And when you say yes, it will be because your soul says it too. And if you ever doubt, if old guilt shows up, if that inner voice tries to convince you that you're being selfish for putting yourself first, remember this. There's no more generous act than taking care of yourself enough to keep showing up truly, present, whole, free. People don't need more martyrs. They need more whole people. And you can be one of them. Thank you for making it this far. It means a lot. More than you imagine. Not for me, for you, because if you listen to all this, it's because something inside you is ready to change. And if you decide to do it, I assure you, not only will you free yourself, you'll become a steady flame that inspires others to do the same. And that is kindness in its purest form. And now that you're here, after this journey, after looking into a mirror you maybe didn't expect, what are you going to do with this? Because yes, you could close this video and go on as always, pretending you heard nothing, that none of this applies to you, that you're just kind. But if you made it this far, you know that a part of you has been quietly wearing out, that it has said yes while screaming no inside, that it has given until it's been empty, and that sometimes it has felt like its kindness is more an obligation than a choice. That part needs something from you. No more punishment. No more pressure. No more denial. It needs you to look at it with honesty and finally say, enough. I don't have to prove anything anymore. I don't have to save everyone. I don't have to keep giving endlessly because I deserve to exist without conditions. That is the essence of what the Stoics wanted to tell us. They didn't come to make you hard. They came to make you free, to give you back the power to choose, to remind you that your worth is not measured by how much you suffer for others, but by how faithful you are to yourself. And that includes your kindness. The world needs good people, but not broken, not resigned, not used as doormats by those who confuse goodness with weakness. The world needs your light, but it needs to stay on, not to go out by warming everyone but yourself. So if you take something from this video, let it be this. For your kindness to be virtue, it must not hurt. It must not ask you to be silent, nor to break, nor to empty yourself. It must be an expression of your freedom, of your awareness, of your inner strength, a strength that doesn't need to shout, That doesn't need to please. That doesn't need to perform. It only needs to be. And if you achieve that, if you walk through life being kind, but without losing yourself, then you've done it. You'll be free. You'll be strong. You'll be you. And nothing is more powerful than that. Thank you for staying until the end. If this video touched your heart, if it moved something in you, if you feel someone else needs to hear it, share it. Because sometimes a single story can change the course of a life. And if you want to continue this path of awareness, growth, and personal freedom, I'll see you in the next videos. But before you go, make a promise to yourself. Today you will begin to treat yourself with the same kindness you give others. And that will be the decision that changes everything.
Remember, practicing Stoicism is a daily journey toward inner peace and resilience. If this video has inspired you to reflect or helped you see things from a different perspective, I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Which idea resonated with you the most? How do you apply Stoic discipline in your life? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Together, we will continue exploring the wisdom of the great Stoics and discovering how to apply it to our modern lives. Thank you for being part of this community. See you in the next video. Keep cultivating strength with every step and share your journey with us.